Hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome. We'll get started in just a second as people filter in. All right, let's get going. So welcome, everybody. This is Gleba Spring Forum Rep Picks. My name is Larry Law. I'm the Executive Director of Gleba. We are joined today by some of our favorite regional reps. This event is being recorded and will be made shareable later this week. I quickly wanted to mention that we are very excited because this Thursday is our official in-person Spring Forum, our first in-person event since 2019. We will be visiting our host bookstore. This is a bookstore and BookBug in Kalamazoo, Michigan, and we are very excited for that. The format for today is as follows. There are two sessions that are going to be going back to back. It is one Zoom link, so if you want to stay for the second session, please do, and you can just remain in the chat until the second session starts. There'll be a brief intermission in the middle for questions, discussion, anything like that, and then we'll go right into the second session. I want to thank our publishing sponsors for sponsoring Rep Picks today. They are Blackstone Publishing, HarperCollins Children's Division, Abraham Associates, Macmillan, IPS, PGW, Two Rivers, Ingram Academic, Simon & Schuster, Sourcebooks, Miller Trade Book Marketing, and HarperCollins and IPG. So thank you all. Now, that being said, we are going to kick it off into our first session. We're going to start with Brad Simpson from Blackstone Publishing. Brad.
All right, thank you, Larry. Let me try to get shared here. Don't start my clock quite yet. Nice to see everybody. I'm real excited to present this list today. We've got a really fantastic, maybe one of our best seasons ever at Blackstone, and we're really super excited to present to the Gleba region. We've got a few local authors to the area, so only 8 minutes, so I'm going to get going right now. First title I would like to talk about today is actually pub date for, let's see, there we go. Geneva Rose, One of Us is Dead. This is launching today. She's on tour right now as we speak. This is a fantastic book, a lot of fun. As you can tell, the cover design is beautiful, especially for the genre. Meet the Women of Buckhead, a place of expensive cars, huge houses, and competitive friendships. Shannon was once the queen bee of town until being unceremoniously dumped by Bryce, her politician husband. Crystal has stepped into Shannon's old shoes. Olivia has waited years to take Shannon's crown of the unofficial queen of Buckhead. And Jenny, well, Jenny owns Glow, the most exclusive salon in town, and knows all her clients' secrets. But will she ever tell? Maybe. Who will survive Buckhead and who will wind up dead? Friendships can be complex, but no one ever thought they'd be deadly. Geneva is a best-selling author of The Perfect Marriage, which has been published in 7 languages and optioned for film recently. Really crazy story about that title. Geneva was actually forced to defend her own husband against claims that he was an adulterous murderer after he played the role so well of a killer to promote her novel on TikTok. And he was so convincing that some thought it was actually true. So she had to go online to defend him and, plead for his innocence. So that's more proof that our world is becoming a virtual one and our physical selves are just kind of passengers riding along for the ride. So interesting times we live in. Originally from Wisconsin, Geneva currently lives in Chicago. And again, she's currently in the middle of her book tour. We do have signed copies available of this title. All right, this one we're super, super excited about. It has been just blowing up in front of our eyes. The Ravaged by Norman Reedus. Yes, that Norman Reedus, Daryl of The Walking Dead fame. This book will be published in May. It's a high-octane, fast-paced, kind of up-in-your-face novel that explores 3 different personal quests with eerily parallel outcomes between characters with vastly different backgrounds. Reedus's movie credits are bountiful, perhaps best known for his role in the cult movie classic, The Boondock Saints. A lot of you might have heard that Reedus had the news that he had an onset injury and suffered a concussion this past month. So that sort of delayed, he had to be on bed rest for a couple of weeks, and that kind of delayed the pub date of his book that was supposed to be out in April. But this one has been delayed till May 10th, just giving us a little more time to promote it. So it's actually worked out pretty well. We still have signed copies available of this book too. Oleander City by Matt Bondurant. This will be published in June, work of historical fiction, and it's a novel based on a true story during the hurricane of 1900, America's worst natural disaster that left the island of Galveston in ruins. Thousands perished, including all 93 children at the Sisters of the Incarnate Word Orphanage, all except for a 6-year-old who miraculously survived the catastrophe. This is the tale of that little girl and the volatile collision between the American Red Cross, the Ku Klux Klan, and one of the most famous boxing matches in American history, which ended up forging a bond between two legendary fighters in that era. Matt is the author of The Wettest County of the World, an international bestseller made into a feature film, Lawless, that was starring Shia LaBeouf, Tom Hardy, Gary Oldman, and Jessica Chastain. Great movie, by the way, if you haven't seen it. All right, The Neighborhood. This one, it will be published in August. From the critically acclaimed author of the Logan West thrillers comes this can't-miss page-turning novel by Matthew Bentley, who, as it was reported, got so bored with the bestseller that he was reading that he decided to become an author and write a novel of his own. If only it was that easy for all of us. It's an ordinary Friday night in the ordinary American town of Hidden Refuge. But when men claiming to be police officers show up at the doorsteps in the middle of the night, ordering residents to evacuate for their own safety, it's only the beginning of the night that will prove to be anything but ordinary. Unbeknownst to most, Hidden Refuge contains something that very dangerous men desperately want, and they're more than willing to kill to get it. Before the night's over, blood of both the innocent and the guilty will be shed. Old scores will be settled and shocking twists will be revealed. This book is packed with the author's trademark blend of gritty realism and edge-of-your-seat action. A former Marine officer of 10 years, Matthew trained as a scout sniper platoon commander, an infantry officer, and ground intelligence officer. A New Jersey native who graduated at Miami University in Oxford, Ohio, he still considers Cincinnati his home. All right, this one is going to be great. Runtime by Catherine Ryan Howard. Her fan base is just growing exponentially. This will be coming out in August. Final Draft, a psychological horror being filmed at the house deep in a forest, miles from anywhere in the wintry wilds of West Cork, Ireland. The lead, former soap opera star Adele Rafferty, has stepped in to replace the original actress at the very last minute. She can't help but hope that this will be her big opportunity, her big break, and she knows that she's lucky to get it after what happened the last time she was on set. The problem, something isn't quite right about Final Draft. When the strange circumstances in the script start to happen on set too, Adele begins to fear that the real horror lies off the page. Movie making can be murder. This is the latest psychological thriller by the best-selling author of the Edgar Award finalist who brought us Distress Signals, The Liar's Girl, and the #1 best-selling book in her native land, The Nothing Man. Her most recent hit, the award-winning title 56 Days, was chosen as the Book of the Month Club selection back in July, and also a New York Times and a Washington Post best thriller. We're of course delighted to have this talented author among our ever-growing stable. Okay, 40 Elephants. This is by Aaron Bledsoe, be published in late August. Another book of historical fiction genre. This work was inspired by a true story of Alice Diamond and the 40 Elephants, the first all-female gang of London set during the 1920s. Gang wars, violence, and an unforgiving world have left Alice scrambling to survive in the gritty neighborhood her family has run for generations. When her father goes to jail yet again, and her scam artist brother finds himself in debt to a notorious criminal mob, Alice struggles to protect her father's territory and keep the people that she loves safe from dangerous criminals.
Right, you have 1 minute.
Okay. When she was just in 6th grade, the author was told that her essay on Marie Antoinette showed promise, fueling her dreams to write about historical women. When she's not writing, Erin enjoys exploring nature, collecting journals, or rolling dice at the table with her friends playing Dungeons and Dragons. Boy, I remember that one. She lives with her husband and children in Michigan at this point, and so she's a local area author. And last, I just want to give a quick shout out, some exciting news on the acquisitions front. Blackstone will be introducing some new publishing partners this year, allowing us to offer a wider breadth of titles through licensed imprints. And our first contract was just inked about a week ago with our newest client, Made for Success. This imprint specializes in business and self-help titles, personal development, and some religious content with authors who've appeared on TED Talks and other media platforms. And that is a wrap. 8 minutes flat, right, Larry?
Yep.
Thank you.
Great. Awesome. Thank you, Brad. I threw Brad's info and Edelweiss link in the chat. I'm going to do that for each presenting rep when they start. So watch out for that, please. Next up, we have Jenny Sheridan from HarperCollins Children's Division.
Hey, everybody. I just need to go to my Edelweiss here. And of course, it's in the wrong place. So welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today. I am so excited of all of the Midwestern authors that I have coming up in the next few months that I picked too many titles. So I'm going to attempt to talk really especially fast to try to get through all of these. And we were talking beforehand, I tried to whittle them down and I just couldn't. So you're just going to have to hang in there with me. And the collection is going to be in the chat. So if I don't get to everything, just know that these titles are all really, really worthy of my enthusiasm. First up in picture books, not so small, it's just a lovely book. I just want to show you a little bit of the art if I could. It's a book about, for young children who maybe are interested in having a voice. And I think that's kind of a theme today. I feel like, look at this beautiful art. And it's about how one small voice might not be able to make a difference, but if we all speak up together, it really could have an impact. And I think that's such an important message for, little kids who feel so sort of don't have any agency, but to celebrate the places in which they do, I think is always worthy. And I think this art is just so terrific. So I'm really excited about that one. Next up is, and these are all Midwestern authors, of course, Kevin Henkes. I picked this one because although we all know he does well, and this is also with Laura Dronzek, his wife, and I'm not going to make a joke about how he had to defend her in a murder case, but we all know the details there. Anyway, this is a beautiful book that's set at the beach, another beautiful rich colors, beautiful illustrations, gorgeous text. I remember my childhood visits to the Indiana Dunes, and I just am really, really feeling that this one for this summer. It just has a really, really lovely, gentle vibe, as Kevin's books often do. Next up is Elephant's Big Solo. I just love this book. I love a book that has an actual beginning, middle, and end, and a story that goes through it. I know we have a lot of books right now that are, it's okay to be insecure, it's okay to be shy, and that is the general message of this book. I love this color palette, such beautiful pastel colors, and I can't resist a book that features an animal orchestra. And I feel like that is something that people will really be drawn to, and the message here is so sweet. There's some stage fright, there's some social anxiety that gets worked out through the friendship of the other musicians. And I just think it's so worthy of consideration, even though I know you're seeing a lot of books about social anxiety. I just wanted to call it out. Moving into middle grade, and I know I'm talking really, really fast. This is the second novel of an author who I really, really love, and this is the story of two girls. One struggles with chronic physical illness, the other one suffers from anxiety. They are doing the best that they can in middle school, and one day they're suddenly thrown into lockdown, that there's an active shooter in the school. And it turns out to not be the case, but just the trauma of thinking for a time that their lives were really in danger sort of changes these two girls. They are together during this lockdown, and it's sort of about what happens after that and how this sort of stuff happening in our schools is really impacting kids. And I think that this read is really going to resonate with this age group and with the gatekeepers for this age group. I think it's really phenomenal. Next up, you might have heard, and this is of this book, because this author is one of our own, a bookseller formerly from Anderson's, and just a terrific book. The thing I love best about it is the setting. It's set in a Civil War reenactment, sort of Colonial Williamsburg kind of place, with this middle grade boy who recognizes his own burgeoning homosexuality, but the community is not particularly open to that, discovers a historical figure who he decides is living a trans life and really wants to celebrate that. And that was somebody from the Civil War period, and really starts to see that, you know, we've always been there, even if we haven't been celebrated. It reminded me a lot of Simon versus a Homo sapiens Agenda for a Middle Grade Audience, just a terrific read and a really fresh setting. The Hurricanes of Weakerville, you may remember Chris Rylander from the Fourth Stall, which was sort of the send-up of The Godfather for a middle grade audience. He's back with Harper. He's not been publishing with Harper for a long time. I'm so excited. Chicago author, terrific in schools. This is a story of a boy who inherits a sort of ragtag minor league baseball team and decides to help them get to the championship. And it's just a lot of fun, a big doorstop of a book, but perfect for a certain kind of reader. Really excited to be selling that one. And I hope that you'll take a look at it, because it maybe is, you know, it's really John David Anderson territory, Aaron Andrade Kelly territory. Your kids are just going to love this book. So it might have gotten lost in the shuffle, but go and try and find a copy, because it's really, really worthy. Moving in just really quick into YA. This is the second in a trilogy of books that are kind of a send-up of Jane Austen novels. Each one is sort of takes on a different novel, and the characters in it act out a murder mystery. And there, you know, I'm not a huge fan of the retelling, but I think these are really a lot of fun, and each one can be read standalone, and they're just really imaginative and delightful. And I've already seen some of my bookstores promoting this online, because this is definitely a Midwestern author. So we're really excited to be sharing that with you. Summer of Bittersweet, this is my only book on today that is not technically a Midwestern author or a Midwestern setting. This is a really intense, really amazing debut novel set on a Native American reservation in Canada. The main character is working with, you know, sort of very—
Jenny, you have 1 minute.
Thank you. Very entrenched in her community, working in her uncle's ice cream shop over the summer. She's demisexual, and it is sort of a mixture of the culture and the sexual awakening, and it has a wonderful romance in it, but it really is celebrating a certain group of people that I have not read before, and I just think it's the cover is great. I think it has crossover appeal into an adult audience. It's just terrific. And finally, This Place Is Still Beautiful. You might have heard about this one. This one's getting a lot of love at the Indies. It's a story of two Chinese American sisters who react very, very differently to hate crime against their mother's property. One of them wants to pretend like it didn't happen. The other one really wants to take to the streets, and it's the story of the aftermath of that sort of an incident, and really, really powerful stuff. These are all coming out. A couple of them are out already. Some of them are coming out over the course of the summer. Keep your eyes open for them, because these are some of the best books on my list. Of course they are, because they're coming from the Midwest. So thanks again for everything, and I hope to see you guys in person soon. Take care.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jenny. Next up, what can I say about this next rep? So smart, so funny. Please welcome Sandra Law from Abraham Associates.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for that introduction, Larry. I hope you can all see my screen. I'm from Abraham Associates, and I cover Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, and Ohio. We cover many different publishers, and today I'm going to be focusing a little heavily on my children's list, just because we had so many fantastic ones and so many from the Gleba region this spring season. First up, this one is not from our region, but we just love this book in our household. Lerner Books from Gecko Press. We have Elephant Island. This one is available now. Arnold is a seafaring elephant and always considered the sea his friend. That is, until it sank his boat. Luckily, he has a built-in snorkel, and he made his way to an island. He started calling SOS and no one came. That is until he found his captain's hat and spotted a ship. Due to Arnold's size, no ship was able to save him, and instead he damaged their boats beyond sailing repair. Since he knows lots of knots, he used that to help make the island bigger. And with all the parts of the ships, more and more boats came, and they decided to build an island where they danced and sang whale songs. One day, the sky grew dark and a big storm came and destroyed their island. All the animals looked to Arnold, and he decided to build an even larger island for all of his new friends. And this is the final island. You can see the original tiny one at the bottom, but such cute illustrations, and it's just a really fun book. Next up, we have from Sleeping Bear Press, which is a local Michigan publisher. We have Summer's Call, A Michigan Tale. This one is also available now. It's a beautiful picture book that celebrates summertime in Michigan. Both the author and the illustrator live in Michigan. Follow along as the children are called awake by summer's morning. Then they set to explore their house and town. The town is also waking up, and families are roaming around the town and the farmers markets. With these sweet watercolor illustrations, you're called to celebrate the joy that is Michigan in the summer. But just really, really sweet. And the craft at the end is to make a little summer celebration craft. After that, we have Mushroom Rain, also from Sleeping Bear Press. This was definitely a rep favorite this season. And we learned about this title during our sales conference. Now that it has made its way out into the world, it has also become a bookseller favorite. This is a narrative nonfiction picture book. It seems so different from many of the Sleeping Bear Press titles. You learn about all the different types of mushrooms, their shapes, colors, smells, and parts. You follow along as you gather all kinds of mushrooms from the forest floor, and then one day they are all gone. But are they really gone? Not really. They are just waiting to come back next year as they hibernate through the winter. This title is also going to be a part of the Gleba summer catalog, and Sleeping Bear Press has an excellent promo, 5+ books and 5+ units, you get 50% and free freight. After that, we have another local author. This one is coming from an Ohio author from Chronicle Books. We have Courage Hats. This book is all about feeling brave. You meet May, and it is her first time traveling by train alone into the deep, deep parts of the forest where the large bears live, and large bears eat little things. You also meet Bear, who will be traveling into the cities where people live and people eat large things. They are both worried about taking the trip because they fear what they have never experienced before. To help them feel brave, May makes herself a bear hat and Bear makes himself a people hat. May and Bear end up finding each other on the train and sitting together. They both feel comforted that they have found someone to sit with, May a grown-up and Bear a small cub. During the trip, they're both able to enjoy the world outside instead of being worried during the entire trip. At the end, they have made it to their destination and decide to exchange hats, revealing themselves to each other. This is a book about feeling brave, even when you think it's not possible. Someone is always feeling the same as you. Next up, we have another local author. This one is coming from a Chicago author. This is a debut from Levine Carrito and Chronicle Books. This is a middle grade. It's a story of a multi-generational pain, has magic, and lengths to which we'll go to protect the people we love. It's set in a post-World War II from a Japanese perspective. Our young protagonist must find a giant Ryu dragon before his grandfather dies. In order to find a big Ryu, Kohai enlists the help of his neighbor, who is half Jewish and half Japanese, and his Yiddish-speaking dragon. Will they be able to find the Ryu before Kohai's grandfather passes away? This is a stunning tale that deals with grief and loss in such a beautiful way and shines light on post-war generational trauma that makes it extremely accessible for a middle grade reader. And this is also a great title for anyone that loved Wish in the Dark from Candlewick Press. Next up from Candlewick Press, we have This is a School. This is coming from John Shu. He is a Naperville author, and he is also the former ambassador of school libraries for Scholastic Books. This story speaks to the joy and excitement of school and being in a classroom. School is not just a building for people to gather. It is a place of discovery and asking questions, a place for sharing and helping, and a place of hope and healing. In a time where it feels like school and libraries keep being used as battlegrounds, this book reminds us what they are meant to be and what they should and can be. After that, we have another one from Candlewick Press from Sherry Dusky-Rinker. You may all know and love her with Goodnight, Goodnight Construction Site series. This is a sweet story about a little girl. Together with her grandfather, they fix up an old bike. The neighborhood kids are not very kind to the little girl since it's not a new bike. The story is about bullying, peer pressure, and feeling the freedom to express yourself. Trying to fit in is not for everyone, and sometimes you need to be able to be you and not worry about what others think of that. It can be such a hard concept to explain and accept during certain ages in our lives. This story does it in a way to express generational love between a grandparent and grandchild and the joyful exuberance of self-expression. This next one, this is just a series that I love, and I always try to get stores to bring it in. It's the Felt Lift the Flap series. Vivian picked this up when she was about 6 months old and still plays with them at 25 months. There's so many books in the series. It's very textile. It has these adorable felt flaps. Ingela is the illustrator. They're gorgeous illustrations, and you should definitely give these a try. After that, we have Wait and See from Helen Frost and Rick Lader. Helen Frost lives in Fort Wayne, and Rick is a Michigan photographer that lives near Detroit. This is a poetry book mixed with nature photography, looking into the beautiful world of praying mantises. After that, we're going into just a couple of adult titles. The first one is Junk Science from M. Chris Fabricant. This is coming from Akashic Books from Consortium Book Sales and Distribution.
Sandra,
Junk
you have 1 minute.
science is, thank you. It's a term used for science that is used in many criminal cases. Forensic experts are a huge problem within the justice system. It is wild how little you need to have in order to be determined as an expert witness. Junk science has incarcerated many innocent people, and Fabricant is trying to shine a light on this and the problems within our justice system. He is a part of the Innocence Project and has helped to make change within our broken and racist system of justice and the role forensic science plays in maintaining the status quo. He is also a former public defender and clinical law professor. I keep seeing more and more about this subject, podcasts and documentaries. It's very, very interesting. He really knows what he's talking about. And then lastly, this is a fall preview title, and this is one I'm very excited about, and I think every bookstore needs to bring in. A Girlhood. This is coming from Blair Books. Carolyn Hayes, she is actually writing under a pen name. And this was recommended to me from Lee Solomon, who is an amazing rep on the West Coast. And this is, as I said, a book that I think everyone needs to bring in. It's a celebration of parenting and the love we all show our children while raising them. It's an award-winning author, and they're keeping their child safe by writing under the pen name because they are still a minor. Carolyn and her family were living in the South when one day Child Protection Services showed up at her door to investigate them due to their youngest child being transgendered. Even though this sounds as if it could be a story of hardships that her family and daughter may face, it is the exact opposite of that. This is a celebration of her daughter and the love and support we should use toward our children and younger generations to help them grow. Instead of treating children as beasts to be tamed or clay to be molded, this removes that mindset. We need to show them love. I mean, what else really matters? This is a must read for all parents and honestly, all adults in general. This is not a parenting book and is a memoir of joy and love this family has for each other. But again, I highly, highly recommend. And if you have any questions, your reps for the Gleba region are myself and John Mesjak. Our emails are below and you can reach out to us. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Sandra. Next up, we have Melissa Weisberg from Macmillan, and who is also a Gleba board member that I get to hang out with this week. Take it away, Melissa.
Hi, everyone. I can't even tell you how excited I am to see your faces in person in a couple of days. So looking forward to it. But for right now, I have some really great titles from spring and a little fall preview for you. Most of you, all of you have already bought this list. These are just some of my favorites, and so I'm reminding you. First one is Love Rules. Such a sweet book, written by Andrea Melvin, Dave Eaton, and Michael Clark Jr. This heartwarming book is a true story of Michael, who was in the foster care system until he went to live with Andrea and Dave. This book shows just what these poor little kids go through every day and the uncertainty they feel in every day and in every situation. What makes this so special is that he got adopted by Andrea and Dave. And on the day of his adoption hearing, his whole kindergarten class showed up, with hearts on rulers. Super cute. Bring your tissues, obviously. Next, How to Money. All of you that know me know that I was born an accountant, so this book is a natural for me. It's by Jean Chatzky, who for 25 years was the money person, the go-to money person on the Today Show. It's a trade paperback original, and it is aimed at older teens, younger 20s, which a lot of them are not. This book shows you them everything they're going to need for their future, how to save for college, how to save for grad school, how to save for a house, what's a mortgage, why you should start preparing for retirement ASAP, what's your credit score, and what does it mean. Such great stuff. It's visual. Also, trade paperback original. I gave this to my niece and nephews already, and all of them have called me or, they texted me to tell me that it's made a difference already in their life. So this belongs on every graduation table. Next, Prayer for the Crown Shy. This is the sequel to Psalm for the Wild Bill, which was published last summer. It got great reviews, but it was sort of a slow burn. So by the time that everyone was jumping on the bandwagon and everyone was putting it on their best of the year lists, we were out of stock and we didn't get any back in until after Christmas. I'm kind of concerned that a lot of people underbought it because the sales were really low last year. Just want you to keep your eyes on this because I think it's going to go quick right at the beginning. Two Nights in Lisbon by Chris Pavan. This is his first book with FSG. It's the first time I've ever read him. It won't be the last. I loved this. It's a husband and wife, actually, a very much younger husband, decide to take a quick trip to Lisbon for his work. The morning after their arrival, she wakes up alone. He's left, there's no note. And after a while, she starts to freak out. And he's not answering his phone. So first she checks with hotel security, can't find anything. Then she goes to the police, who blow her off because it's only been a few hours. And then to the American embassy, who also blow her off. And no one takes it seriously until the ransom note comes in. And what they want is an amount of money that only one person she knows could supply, but it's the one person she never wants to see or hear from again. This is so intricately plotted, so well told. I read a lot of thrillers and mysteries. I could not figure this one out. The end is so incredibly satisfying. I want to hear from anyone that knew what was going to happen. Next, The Girls They Write Songs About, Carleen Bauer. You all know Jenna Johnson, our editor at FSG, and this was one of her books for the season. I usually pick one per season to go on about and read, and this was this one. My biggest issue with this one this season was because she had track, which wasn't great. However, this one is already starting to get star reviews. And it is great book club fodder. It's about two women who meet in 1997 at the same music magazine. It takes them a while to figure each other out, but then they become inseparable BFFs. And through the book, we just follow them with their lives and the choices they make and the things they do and how they end up. It is wonderful and heartbreaking. And honestly, it's just like real life. Next, Acts of Violet. This is from the author of Una Out of Order, which you all know I love, and I know a lot of you did as well. This is something completely different than that, but just as great. Violet is a famous or infamous magician, and when we start the book, it is the 10th anniversary of her shocking disappearance. She disappeared off stage in the middle of a packed house in the middle of her act, and hasn't been seen or heard from since. And the story of her life and the story of what came after is told in diary entries, in emails, in a podcast. And as she had this cult following who are all getting set together on the 10th anniversary of her disappearance. There's this rumor that she might make a reappearance, and the podcaster is like, around town sort of stalking the sister and her family. And at the end with the sister, there's sort of a Harry Potter ending moment, which if you read the book, you'll see, but it makes the ending super satisfying. Gatekeeper. This was really one of my favorite books from the season. It's a pseudonymous novel, an action-packed thriller. This one, honestly, it took me a day and a half to read just because I had to sleep. Introducing Des Limerick. He's a retired mercenary on vacation in California when he realizes that what he is seeing out his hotel window is a kidnapping attempt. He decides to stick his nose in where it doesn't belong, and he saves the target. She's the daughter and the chief legal counsel of a military contractor. After he saves her, she hires him to help her find out who's been embezzling money from their company. The answer reveals betrayal, lies, militias, and all kinds of icky underbelly stuff.
So you have 1 minute.
Fun. Thank you. And a great, great character. Right. Dirtbag, Massachusetts. Isaac is the founding editor of BuzzFeed Books and the Today Show. And this is his memoir in linked essays. I really originally wasn't going to read this, but one of my buyers was over the moon about it. I picked this up and then couldn't put it down. Highly recommend. I still have galleys if you still would like to pick this up, but I wanted to get to our sneak peek at fall. We have a new Catherine Applegate. This one is Otter, who is obviously about an otter. And this is based on the work that they do at the Monterey Bay Aquarium, which pairs orphaned otter pups with surrogate mothers. And she'll sprinkle all kinds of otter facts in like she did with the one and only Ivan. The Luminaries, Susan Dennard, a brand new series. I'm already getting incredible reads on this. You know, Susan is a Michigan author and an incredibly lovely human. Number 1 is Walking, Steve Martin and Harry Bliss. If you guys remember The Wealth of Pigeons, you know you need to have this. This one, though, is Steve's memoir and illustrated. We will have signed copies. Friends, Lovers, and the Big Terrible Thing by Matthew Perry. The word on this is that there's lots and lots of really good dish about not just him, but everybody he worked with. Uphill, Jamel Hill. I have some really local stores that are super excited about this. She grew up in Detroit, graduated from Michigan State, has worked at the Free Press and ESPN. She may have had a little bit of scandal, but she'll tell you all about it in this. And I know we're planning on touring her. And last but not least, Toad by Catherine Dunn, the author of Geek Love. I've already had a ton of people ask me for ARCs of this. So thank you all. See you in a couple days.
Thank you, Melissa. Next up, we have Kitty Glasgow from IPS, PGW, Two Rivers, and Ingram Academic. Take it away, Kitty.
Hi, sorry, I obviously have no idea how to unmute. So the first title we have is from Nacelle Books, which is a new imprint that just started with Two Rivers. And this is from Jenny Mullen. This is her first novel. She's known for a couple of her nonfiction collections. And this book is going to be perfect for fans of people like Lauren Weisberger or Weisberg. This is all about momfluencer culture. This is all about all those things that we as parents feel like we have to live up to based on what it looks like on Instagram. This is a fairly commercial novel, but it's got a very biting wit. The biggest thing is she's going to have publicity everywhere. She's already booked The View, Rachel Ray, People, Talk Shop Live, and more and more and more and more are coming. So this is in the drop-ins catalog. It's also listed in the summer catalog, so don't miss this one. The next one is The Unkillables. This is 40 houseplants that supposedly you're not supposed to be able to kill, but there are a few in there that are very temperamental. But this is going to have, you know, your philodendrons, your anthuriums, banana trees, palms, things that are easy for you to plant, love them for a couple weeks, and then completely forget about them. Other than watering a lot of these on occasion, they're going to be mostly pretty easy to manage. This book is really great because it's cheap and it's a hardcover with tons and tons of images. This is from Welbeck, and they are a British publisher that used to be with Sterling, and they've been with Two Rivers for a couple of years. The next one and this one and fishing and national parks. I have little, they are very small. But what these books are is these are collections of quotes, pictures, maps. The pages are a little bit hard to see, but a lot of people are putting these on summer travel tables. They're also putting them on Father's Day tables, especially the Little Book of Fishing. They're just easy to stick at the counter, different times of the year, and just people throw them in their orders, and it's great. They have everything from food to fashion to cooking and coffee and books and authors. It's sort of bonkers how many things they have. The next one, Stand Up, Stand Out. This is a great book that I really enjoy, that's showcasing a lot of rebel heroes. And the thing that I appreciate about this is that it's not the same people you hear about all the time. It's got really, really interesting line drawings. And it's also got people that are sort of famous adjacent. You know, everybody knows about Claire Barton, but do a lot of people know about Irene Sendler? And it just is, it's nice because it's people from throughout history. And then it's also got some modern folks, and it's a great mix of nationalities and genders and personalities, frankly. The next one, Heck and Lewd. This is not normal for a lot of us to feature, but this is one of the best compilations and collections that I've seen in a long time that deals specifically with trans and non-binary erotica. It's something that you don't see a lot of titles on. And it's put out in a way that makes it a little bit more commercial. It's from Bold Strokes Press, which is one of our lesbian fiction and LGBTQ publishers on the Two Rivers side. And this is just something that if you are expanding that section within your romance, it's becoming something that a lot of people are now coming into stores rather than buying online. The next one, Petting Zoos. This is from IPS, and this is from Dundurn Press, who is a Canadian press. Traditionally, their prices have been the worst, but in the last couple of years, they've really brought them down. And this is one that is one of my favorite books on the summer list. This is a post-apocalyptic pandemic situation. It's no connection to our modern world. The author's been writing it for 10 years, and the premise of this book is that 10 years after a pandemic has occurred, everybody in the world, there's all these hygiene laws and there's all these things you cannot do in terms of public and touching. And so instead of fight clubs, people are joining these underground petting zoos where they can go in and get a hug or get a cuddle, you know, or make out, whatever, but are highly, highly illegal. And so it really touches on a lot of notes that a lot of us dealt with during the quarantines and the pandemic, because some of us were alone. And those of us who were not alone wish we were alone. And so this kind of just mixes it up a little bit, and it's written beautifully well. The next one, and a very different moment, this is a lovely little board book from Pajama Press. It features these multimedia illustrations all about different animals that are kind of kookily done, talking about and being proud of their daddies. So if you need to have some kids books on your Father's Day table, that's a good one. The next one, this is another one that I really love. It's very small. I don't have the actual copy yet because it's too early. Comes out in July, but this is life size. So it's very small. What it's meant to do is it's meant to go inside your camera bag or in your carry-on or your purse, whatever. And what it does is it gives you a ton of these photography tips right at your fingertips. And it's spiral bound and it's tough. And so it's almost the size of a little notebook. And what it does is it talks all about shooting speed, composure, or composition tips, things like that. The next one is also another random one. Friendship bracelets are coming back. And a lot of times people have forgotten what they used to do at summer camp. And what this does is this compiles all of these cool old sort of patterns, and it also shows you how to make some of the really neat new stuff featuring anime characters and things like that. It is a form of macrame, but a lot of people forget about that. And this is just a really cool book to sit out for summer activities or camps, or if you do events within your store like a day camp, this would be another great addition to that. The Anarchist Club. So this is from Felony and Mayhem Press, which joined PGW about a year ago. And this features a trans protagonist. This is a series of mysteries. The Anarchist Club is the second in the series, featuring Leo Stanhope. And then the first of the series is Half Moon Street. And this is interesting because it's taking place during the Victorian era. And as you know, a lot of people were just sort of all over the place in terms of Victorians. They get a bad rap, but these books are so well written, and they are another great addition to your LGBTQ sections, whether you separate those out or if you keep them in with just a little note card. The next one, The Marmalade Diaries. This is another one of my absolute faves. It is just adorable. And this author, Ben Aiken, loves Bill Bryson, and it sort of tries to emulate him a little bit, but he's a little too millennial for that. But this is a pandemic memoir. So he had to move out of his apartment. He lives in
You have
London.
1 minute.
Thanks. And he ends up moving in with this 88-year-old woman, and they super bond over the pandemic. And it talks a lot about how they had to become quarantined together. And it's just something to not miss. The Philosophy of Gardening, this is translated from the German, and this is one of those titles where if you have a lot of people who are buying gardening books, but they don't necessarily need how-tos, this is a great addition for Mother's Day or Father's Day. Satisfry, this is an air fryer cookbook who's written by the author of many of the corporate air fryer books. So if you bought one from Ninja or whatever, Mona Dolgoff likely wrote the cookbook itself. And so this is a compilation of all of those recipes that she's formulated for those companies put into one. The next one, Easy Origami for Kids from Tuttle Press. I love this one because it uses regular paper. You can use construction paper, notebook paper, origami paper, whatever you want. And the instructions don't specify that you have to use a specific size. So this is something that kids could do in class, teachers could use, babysitting, things like that. Drawing amazing manga characters. Manga and manga adjacent stuff is just blowing out stores all over the place. And Tuttle has like 20 plus different drawing books. And this is one that just came out or is just coming out. And it's just a fantastic collection. After Lambana is another book from Tuttle. And this is a Filipino graphic novel that's a fantasy base. And there's a lot of stuff coming up. You see a lot of the Korean manga coming up, and I forget what it's called. But now Filipino mythology is starting to come out a lot. And Neil Gaiman is a huge fan of Filipino myths. And then the last, this is my favorite. This is a story about, it's a little bit of an eco-fiction for kids. And it's a story about a lonely axolotl whose environment is being polluted. And it's from Yonder Press, who is part of Restless. And they do a lot of things that are translated, but this book is a little expensive. It's about 20 bucks, but it is just the most adorable thing you've ever seen in your life. And you'll have to restrain yourself from going out immediately and spending $150 on a tank and an axolotl because you need one in your room. There we go. That's all I got.
Awesome. Thank you, Katie. Next up, we have Leah Hayes from Simon & Schuster.
Wait, okay, wait, there we go. Okay, hi everyone. My first pick is The Many Daughters of A. Fong Moy, the new novel by New York Times bestselling author Jamie Ford. This sweeping multi-generational novel centers on the 7 generations of women that follow A. Fong Moy, a real person who was the first Chinese female immigrant to the United States. The family's triumphs, falters, struggles, and successes are colored by the trauma and love passed down from the matriarch. Dorothy Moy is the modern-day character who anchors the book as she tries to heal the pain of the past that courses through the lives of the women in her family. This is a long-lasting emotional punch of a novel that explores the idea of passing intergenerational trauma through genetics in a genre-defined, hopeful story that's part historical fiction and part science fiction. Next is Properties of Thirst, a meaty historical novel filled with vibrant characters and set in one of the darkest moments of US history. Set on a California ranch during World War II, this gracefully written novel follows the Rhodes family, whose course is forever changed when the government decides to build a Japanese internment camp next to their land. From the fight for water rights, the coming of age decisions regarding war, and a horrifying realization of the camp being built, this sweeping family drama will have readers savoring every word and wishing for more.
Leah, you might
Next.
want to go into presentation mode on your
Oops.
slides.
Oh, sorry about that,
Oh, you're
Peter.
fine.
There we go. Okay. Okay. Very good. Next is Magpie, a juicy thriller about motherhood, fertility, and what it means to make a family. Marissa and Jake are excited to have a child together, but months of trying soon leads to infertility treatments that threaten their picture-perfect relationship. Kate, their seemingly perfect new roommate, suddenly doesn't understand what personal boundaries mean. Tense and full of twists that would make even the most seasoned of psychological thriller readers gasp, Magpie explores the idea of parenting, envy, possession, and what a person would do to get everything they've ever wanted. Next is Anna. This biography sheds new light on Anna Wintour, the longtime editor-in-chief at Vogue and her world. It explores Wintour's rise within both the fashion world and the world of media, showcasing her knack for power and the force of relentless ambition. The author not only visited various archives around the world, she conducted interviews with over 200 people in order to create this incredibly intimate portrait of one of the most influential women in the world of media. Author Amy Odell will appear on Good Morning America this Friday. Next is Fellowship Point. This sweeping novel is a love letter to the natural world with ruminations on love, classism, and one unforgettable friendship. It follows two friends nearing age 80. Agnes, a well-known children's author, a character who feels part like Olive Kitteridge, part Joan Didion, and Polly, a family woman and professor. Agnes wants to dissolve the shared land trust of Fellowship Point in Maine and donate the land to become a bird sanctuary, and has to convince Polly to do so. Agnes doesn't have heirs, but Polly does, and her loyalty is torn between her best friend and her family. And when a young editorial assistant who wants to publish Agnes's memoirs arrives in town, secrets are rediscovered and revealed with a twist you won't see coming. Next is Stories from the Tenants Downstairs, a short story collection that captures the joys and pain of the human experience and heralds the arrival of a uniquely talented writer. Set in the hustle and bustle of Harlem, this is a collection of 9 stories that showcase humanity, truth, humor, and tenderness. Each story follows a different tenant in a low-income housing project, from a former gymnast with a good education who wishes she could leave the area for good, to a single mother who was waitressing and doing hair on the side, and many more. The stories overlap in ways that will make readers cheer for them, cry for them, and rejoice in their triumphs. Next is Deepwater. This is a vacation gone horribly wrong novel that will keep you reading until the last page. A naval ship finds a boat in distress with an injured husband and wife, and before they have a chance to find out what happened, the wife screams, "It's all my fault, I killed them." The novel then flashes back to the before, following a married couple who sell everything they own to go sailing around the world. They are told about an island that is only known by word of mouth, and once they get there, they discover a beautiful but unsettling island with a set of rules that cannot be broken. Next is The Shore. Set over the course of one summer, this beach read follows a mother and her 2 daughters as they grapple with heartbreak and the weight of family secrets. Margot and her daughters lives changed quickly when husband and father Brian learns he has a brain tumor. Their lives now upended, they each have to find ways to cope with their new and uncertain futures. This novel is infused with humor as young women find sisterhood, friendship, and love in a time of crisis. The Shore is perfect for fans of Ask Again, Yes. And looking ahead to the fall, The Fortunes of Jaded Women goes on sale on September 6th. A big-hearted and charming debut sure to knock your socks off. It has already been selected for one of the big national book clubs in November. I just can't say which one. This novel follows a family of estranged Vietnamese women whose lives collide after a psychic makes some startling predictions about their fate and happiness. Full of flawed and feisty mothers who meddle and argue as they wait to see the predictions come to fruition, and their exasperated daughters who would rather define their futures on their own terms. This novel shows how these Vietnamese women emerge victorious, even if the world is against them. a multi-narrative novel brimming with levity and candor and layered with heartbreak and healing. The Fortunes of Jaded Women is a love letter to women and complicated families everywhere. That's it.
Awesome. Thank you, Leah. All right, please join me in thanking our reps today. Brad Simpson from Blackstone Publishing, Jenny Sheridan from HarperCollins Children's Division, Sandra Law from Abraham Associates, Melissa Weisberg from Macmillan, Katie Glasgow from IPS, PGW, Two Rivers, and Ingram Academic, and Leah Hayes from Simon & Schuster. Now we're going to take a brief break. I'm going to leave the chat open if anyone wants to hang around. If you have any questions or discussion, please throw that into the chat or just unmute yourself. And then at 12:30 Central, 1:30 Eastern, we will jump into session 2. So this is the same link. So if you leave and come back, just use the same link to get back in. But thank you. Thank you all.
Well, I'm gonna jump off then and put my baby down for her nap. I miss you so much, Katie. We need to like email and like try to see each other at
do.
some point. Yeah.
We do. Yeah, I'm kind of a loser and I keep moving. And so I keep,
I was like, you moved. Are you back in the Carolinas now though?
yeah, we're literally
That's what I thought.
a
Okay.
mile away from where I used to be. So,
No, gosh.
well, we just did not adapt well to Kansas City, but so my territory
Yeah.
keeps changing. And so it's just sort of a,
Yeah.
but I'm just so happy to
Right.
see you.
I know. I'm happy to see you too. I saw that it was you and I was like, yay.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I kind of got roped in last minute, so it's good.
yeah. Well, I'm happy to see your face and you did awesome. And yeah, I'm gonna go put this baby down. But
All right.
all right.
Bye.
Bye.
Good, Betty. Did you want to test screen sharing or are you just holding up books?
I was just testing my positioning. so
Oh,
I
okay.
can front of the camera.
Cool.
I think I'll be fine with the screen share. I just hope I don't take too long finding the right open window.
Yeah. Are you doing Edelweiss or are you doing a PowerPoint?
I'm doing Edelweiss.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, it'll be pretty straightforward, and I don't trust it to load anything. Hey, Chris. It can take so long for things to load, so I figured I'd show a few things.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how are you doing?
Me, good.
Yeah.
Hanging in there.
Yeah.
Wild with all the spring forum stuff going on because we're meeting Thursday. It's our first meeting since 2019. So
Oh,
it's just
in
like
person, huh?
yeah, remembering
Yeah.
all the things we have to do. And
Wow.
Chris, since you have to leave early, Bruce Miller dropped out, so I can put you third if that works. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. that would
Okay,
be
so
great.
we're missing Bruce and John.
And John, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Awesome.
Well,
Thank
then I could
That
just
means we
talk
all get an
about-
extra 10 minutes, right, Larry? That's what that amounts to.
Right, John offered me his time spot yesterday at about 2, and for a minute I was almost foolish enough to say yes. And I'm like, no, I don't want to go through that process. Which ones do I want to talk about? What did I say I wanted to talk about? Because I've already trimmed it down. It's out. If it's out, it's out.
Yeah. If anyone wants to test screen sharing, please go right ahead. We still have a few minutes before we go live.
Yeah, if you don't mind, I'd love to do that.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you able to see this?
Yep.
Looks good.
And you can see the covers advancing?
Yes.
Fantastic.
good.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, if I do a quick test as well.
Yep, go for it.
All right, we good?
There we go.
Yep. You're not in presentation mode?
Yeah, sure.
Yep.
All right, perfect.
Yep, looks good. Naomi, do you have an Edelweiss link you can send me?
I do not.
You don't? Okay, that's fine. If you have one after the event, if you want to send it to me, I'll include it in the outgoing email at the end of this week.
Sounds
I'm
great.
going to go ahead and just test my screen share. It
Yep,
should
go for it.
Is it all up there now?
Yep.
Great. Okay, now let me get out of here so somebody else can do it.
I can try mine too, I guess.
I can stop yours, Betty, if you want.
Yeah, I can't, it went into side-by-side mode here. Okay. You did it?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Well, be on standby. That may happen
Sure.
during the show.
Other stuff. How's that? Probably better, yes.
Looks good. Yep.
But my background noise isn't too bad. I'm at a library.
No, a little echoey, but I think it's fine. Cool. The format's going to be similar to the first one. So you have 8 minutes. At 7 minutes, I'll let you know your time is up. And then we'll get started in just a couple of minutes. The chat's still open from the last event. So we have a few people still hanging out, but I expect some more people are dropping in now. Let's see, who are we missing? Kathy. I saw Kathy popped in earlier, but she's not in here yet. Brecca, Naomi, Chris, Kathy, and Betty. Yep. A little bit shorter session this time. Chris, so you're headed up to Kalamazoo today? Cool.
Yep.
Yeah, I decided to drive in tonight, so I don't have to do it in the morning and then have our like all day meeting after that. So I'm probably leaving here kind of
Nice.
late, but at least be in the hotel for the morning.
Nice. I either need to do like a last minute hotel or see if they'll just like give me an extra day.
Yeah, call the hotel. They've been really, really good to work with. I don't think they have any big events going on this weekend other than ours.
Yeah.
The rooms we blocked out. So
They do.
I would call them. I can send you the reservation number, but and the woman I've been working with, but they've been super helpful. I had an author that had to do some shifting today too, and I had to add a day too. So they were really accommodating.
Cool. Yeah. All right. Cool.
Hello, everybody. Welcome. We're gonna get started in just a minute. Let people filter in here. All right, let's get started. Get going as people are filtering in. For those of you that didn't attend the first session, my name is Larry Law. I'm the Executive Director of the Great Lakes Independent Booksellers Association. Thank you for joining us today for our Spring Forum Rep Picks. The format today is as follows, pretty straightforward. Each rep has 8 minutes. At 7 minutes, I will notify them they have a minute left. I'd like to thank our publishing sponsors for today's event, Sourcebooks, Simon & Schuster, HarperCollins, IPS, PGW, Two Rivers, Ingram Academic, and IPG. This event is being recorded and will be shareable later this week. That being said, let's kick it off. First up, we have Brucka Fabian from Sourcebooks.
Thank you so much. Let me share my screen here so that you can all see the wonderful books I'm about to talk about. And is everyone able to see the cover of And There He Kept Her? Fantastic. Okay. So I am going to be really energetic in this talk and go over some programs and some titles, and we'll see if I can squeeze in, I think it's 24, 23 titles in this catalog all in 8 minutes. So first up is Joshua Mulling. He is based in Minnesota. This is his debut novel, and it's about a new deputy sheriff who's just moved to a lakeside town from a big city. And his current worries are whether to out himself as gay or not, and also how to find 2 missing teens who, unbeknownst to them, chose the wrong house to break into the previous night. Next, we have Katrina Monroe. She lives with her wife, her children, and a ghost named Eddie in a big old rambling house in Minnesota. This should be no surprise to you then that she writes ghostly Gothic feminist horror. So essentially think Mexican Gothic, but with a queer representation. Both of those titles I just mentioned are perfect to add to our Everybody Needs Pride order. It's an indie exclusive promo we're running right now. It runs throughout the entire course of the year, not just in June, not just in October, but if you order 15 titles featuring queer content or by queer creators from Sourcebooks directly, you'll receive 50% free freight and an acrylic display for free. You'll receive marketing assets and stickers to help you promote the titles. And so I will be pointing out some additional titles throughout the course of the presentation that'll go well there, and I'll drop some links in the chat afterward as well, so you can find out more about it. Next, we have the author of The Unplanned Life of Josie Hale, who lives in Ohio. This is the first in a new series, and it's like if 3 Men and a Baby met New Girl, but Zooey Deschanel was pregnant and childhood friends with her male roommates. So if you're looking for a fun sort of like millennial rom-com, this is a good one from an Ohio-based author. And then this also is a series that is based in the Midwest. This is a sneak peek at a new book in the series coming out this fall. You might remember the first 2, Witch Please and Boss Witch. It's like Gilmore Girls meets Practical Magic, set obviously in a contemporary time period. It's perfect for our Read Romance program, which is another year-long program that we're running, where if you order 15 trade paperback romance titles, then you get 50% free freight, an acrylic display, marketing materials, and buttons to help you promote these titles. And all the next titles I'm going to tell you about are perfect for Read Romance because they are all romance titles. Wicked Beauty by Katie Robert probably needs almost no introduction since Katie Robert has been huge in the indie market. This is the 3rd in the Dark Olympus series. So if you're following that, this title follows the triad of Achilles, Patroclus, and Helen. So just throwing this out there that if you're looking for really steamy alternate Greek retellings, this is the series for you. They don't really have to be read in order. There's definitely some world building in the first book, but you can absolutely read them out of order. So if you wanted to start with the Triad and this one, go right ahead. And then we have another book that needs almost no introduction, Husband Material. This is the sequel to Boyfriend Material and answers the question about whether Luke and Oliver do make good husband material or not. Next up, we've got A Game of Retribution. It's a Bloom Books title, not a Sourcebooks Casablanca title, for those following along on our imprints. Bloom Books had first started with E.L. James. Now we've added some additional authors like Scarlett St. Clair, but this also is a trade paperback romance, so absolutely counts. And being an Oklahoma author, she's sort of adjacent to the Gleba region. It's the second book in a series about Hades and Persephone. I just am sending out ARCs out this week. Now, this is a mass market, so it doesn't technically count for the Read Romance program, but I just finished it this weekend, so I needed to tell you about it. It's the first in a new series called the Byronic Book Club series. It's smart and sexy and light on the drama and high on the heat. And of course, as the series name suggests, books are involved. So what more could you really want from a Regency romance? Definitely pushed all of my buttons in the best way. So wanted to make sure you all were aware of it too. And now I'm going to go into some titles that are really great for fiction and mystery book clubs. Of course, all of our titles are perfect for them. And this is why we have our new Bookmark for Bookstores book club program. Any title, as I mentioned, is eligible. And then when you order 15 copies, you get 53% free freight and acrylic display, marketing support, and swag. Now, I run that program, so reach out to me if you have any questions about it. And here are some titles that are going to be perfect for it. In case you somehow missed it, my first title is The Bookwoman's Daughter, the sequel or companion, however you'd like to describe it, to The Bookwoman of Troublesome Creek. You might want to have a few on hand. It's coming out in May. And if you want to participate in a multi-store, multi-author virtual event with this author, I'll drop that Google form in the chat after this presentation as well. We're hosting that event in May. Next up is a personal favorite of mine. Couldn't help throwing a quick plug for the subgenre of little old ladies who are up to no good. This is a title that is perfect for that subgenre of mysteries. And then the next title, I just finished this weekend as well. Oops, I'm sorry, I lied. There's another title that's in that catalog, if you're looking at it right now, though, called Secret Lives. That's coming out in October. I literally just dropped it in, which is why it's not showing up on my screen. That one's about a 75-year-old former spy who runs a boarding house for current spies. So I just love those series. They're so fun to talk about. Julie Clark writes feminist thrillers. They're all marvelous. The Last Flight was an instant New York Times bestseller and an Indie Next List pick. And I personally think The Lies I Tell is even better. Tonight, we're hosting a multi-store, multi-author event with her and Carter Wilson. So if you want to check that out and see how we run a program like that, Marie O'Malley is our moderator. You might recognize her name, bookseller extraordinaire from Skylarks. So she's our moderator for this event tonight and for next month's event as well. So I'll drop that link in the chat too. Then another favorite mystery, Scarlet Lives or Secret Lives, there it is. Well, now you've seen it. Another favorite mystery on our list is The Woman in the Library. I love this one because there are so many different entry points to this and there's so much to discuss. It's coming out in June. It is very contemporary, but it's not mired in all of the things that we are sort of talking about and feeling in our daily lives. Like COVID is there, but it doesn't really discuss it on the page. Race and gaslighting issues are there, but again, it's not didactic. It has the reader confront some of their own biases, but within this locked room mystery context, it's a little tricky to describe, but you're going to absolutely love it. Next up, we have Widowland. This is an alternate history. It imagines if the UK had surrendered to the Nazis and now women were living in this like Handmaid's Tale sort of hierarchical system. Okay, this book is perfect for fans of literary fiction, historical fiction, alternative histories, feminist dystopias. How many books do you think could fit into that category all at one time? And it's the first in a series. I hope that you love it. And for true crime fans, don't miss out. This true crime book, it's nonfiction that examines, as it says, the science
Okay,
of
you have
murder.
1 minute.
Thank you. By looking at real life cases that inspired Agatha Christie novels. I really quickly wanted to point out that we do have a program for teen advisory boards and YA for adult book clubs called First Look. You get the first 3 chapters of a book that is not yet out to build buzz in a PDF, and then we try to schedule a private Zoom session with the club and your author. So What's the Tea by Juno Dawson is a companion to This Book is Gay. We're assuming it's going to be banned and challenged just like the first book. Want to make sure you have copies of this in your store. And then Burn Down, Rise Up. This is by a debut by an Afro-Latina non-binary author about teens in the Bronx who have to enter an alternate world in order to defeat an evil that's targeting Black and Brown people. And then Scarlett St. Clair has a YA novel that we're bringing out. She self-published it, but now everyone's going to get to read the dark fantasy reimagining of Orpheus and Eurydice. And then for the younger set, Barefoot Dreams of Petra Luna was one of my favorite books of last year. It's coming in paperback, and the hardcover, I just received my own art package that I sent out myself. I know it's a little meta. Hopefully some of you received that art package as well. You definitely don't want to miss this one coming out in hardcover. And then Black Boy, a beautiful, powerful picture book written in lyrical text, similar to Brown Bear, and it features inspirational Black men in history and the present. Very big keynote, not just Black men inspirational in the past, they do exist now. Don't miss playtime for Restless Rascals. We're working our way backwards. So we did bedtime, then we took a bath, now it's playtime. Basically, a child can go through the entire day with this series. And then last but not least, a sneak peek of Black Hollywood. This, I think, is going to be one of the biggest, if not the biggest, gift books of the season. It's a reimagining of what Hollywood could have looked like if Black actors and actresses were cast in these iconic roles. It's part of our new Ebony partnership. And as much as we have ordered thousands and thousands of copies, we will run out. The author is very, very well connected, and all of the celebrities in this book are primed to be posting about it all holiday season long. It comes out in October. Place those orders now. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you, Brecca. Next up, we have Naomi Kennedy from Simon & Schuster.
Hi, I'm Naomi Kennedy. I'm a new sales rep at Simon & Schuster, and I'm going to be presenting some of our summer kids titles for you today. So I'm going to be starting in with Creepy Crayons, the 3rd book in our outstanding series. Peter Brown won a Caldecott honor in 2013 for Creepy Crayons and Creepy Carrots, and Creepy Carrots and Creepy Pair of Underwear hit the New York Times every fall. And so this is a great Halloween classic, but also perfect for all year round. I know from my time in the publishing industry how much you all love Peter Brown and Aaron Reynolds. But at the heart of this story is a great message about working hard. And like the 2 previous books, it has a nice twist ending as the purple pointy perfect crayon finds another target. And I'm just going to show you some of that really cute, phenomenal art. And then we have Lizzie and the Cloud. From critically acclaimed award-winning creators of Ocean Meets the Sky and The Night Gardener comes a whimsical and sweet story of a young girl who cares for her pet cloud as it grows. The Fan brothers are at it again, creating another richly illustrated tale with all the feelings of a modern classic. And I just love everything that they put out and think that their work is phenomenal. And then our last picture book is Growing an Artist. This is the debut of award-winning artist John Pera as an author illustrator. And as an illustrator, he's received so many accolades, from a New York Times Best Illustrated book to a Pour Belle Pré Honor book. And this is a semi-autobiographical story that celebrates the bond between a boy and his father, as well as Pera's Mexican heritage. And we have the English edition as well as a simultaneous Spanish edition. Now I'm going to take you into our middle grade titles, starting with a really fun graphic novel, Lumberjackula. It is the story of Jack, a half vampire, half lumberjack boy who feels torn between his parents' different wishes for his future, as well as his own secret. What he really wants to do is dance. This is a perfect blend of high fantasy and kid-friendly humor that is currently permeating through pop culture. I feel like the art style has a very similar feel to Disney's Onward, with a sprinkling of better Nate than ever, and this will make it the next great popular read. Now into our traditional middle grade, starting with Skandar and the Unicorn Thief. So there is so much in-house love for this title. So when I started at Simon & Schuster, I had high expectations because of how much everybody was obsessing about this book, and it hooked me within the first 2 pages. Unicorns don't belong in fairy tales. They belong in nightmares. This is a totally fresh take on unicorns. The creatures in this series are ferocious, powerful, and exploding with uncontrolled magic. This is perfect for fans of Percy Jackson and A Tale of Magic. I think middle grade's at its best when it has real stakes, and everything in this book, from the intergenerational pressure of Skandar's father for his children to become unicorn riders, to the tension between the island and the mainland, which has both the trained and dangerous wild unicorns, to the mysteries of both Skandar's mother and the ominous weaver. This novel has everything to get readers immersed in Skandar's journey. This is going to have a ton of marketing support, and it also is a planned trilogy, with Sony having snatched up the film rights after a contentious auction. Then we have another amazing debut, which is Grounded for All Eternity. Mal, short for Malachi, and his friends are just your average kids from hell. But when hell's bells burn out, signaling that a soul has escaped from one of the eternal circles, Mal and his squad, Alistair, Crawley, and Lilith, can help take the opportunity for a little adventure. I can't describe how fresh and original this feels. From Faust's Cafe, where all worldly knowledge includes the recipe for the best donuts, to shops like Burn This Book and Choirs of Hell Music, complete with concert schedule. Marx has created a world that's so full of incredible details and yet feels thoroughly modern. Things like Good Omens, Sabrina, Supernatural, and The Good Place shows that there's an appetite for demons, hell, and the afterlife, but I've never seen it translated to a middle grade audience before, and with such an amazing and funny voice. Then, perfect for fans of Arusha, Zachary Yang and the Dragon Emperor is written by the best-selling author of the YA Iron Widow series, Yuan J. Zhao. Zachary Yang has never had many opportunities to learn about his Chinese heritage, so he is woefully unprepared when he discovers that he was born to host the spirit of the first emperor of China for a vital mission, sealing the leaking portal of the Chinese underworld before the upcoming Ghost Month blows it wide open. And Jiran just did a video specifically for indie bookstores, encouraging their fans to pre-order the book at their favorite local bookstore. And we'd be happy to share that video if you guys haven't had a chance to see it. Then we have Hazard, which is a nice middle grade to YA crossover by bestselling and critically acclaimed author Frances O'Rourke Dowell. How do you get past rage when it's formed a wall around you? Hazard is kicked off of his football team for unsportsmanlike conduct, while his father, newly returned from the war in Afghanistan, rages against what the war took from him. This is told in texts, poems, emails, notes, and writing assignments from Hazard's therapist. The story in pieces parallels Hazard's attempt to piece together the root of his anger. This is truly a different format for a novel in verse, and it tackles issues of toxic masculinity, PTSD, and mental health. Then we have See You Yesterday by Rachel Lynn Solomon. This is a magical romance in the vein of Groundhog Day about a girl that's forced to relive her disastrous first day of college, only to find out that her nemesis is stuck in the time loop with her. This is perfect for teens who love the movie Palm Springs. Rachel is such a powerhouse, and I've been admiring her YA novels from afar. She's incredibly tied into the YA community and is a strong advocate for Jewish representation in teen fiction. And this has a very similar package to her previous novel, Today, Tonight, Tomorrow. And finally, I'm guessing many of you have heard about this already, Love Radio, this amazing breakout debut set in Detroit, already has so much in-house and external love. When romantic DJ Prince meets ambitious writer Danny Sparks Fly. Prince is smitten, but Danny's not sure she's looking to get derailed. She gives Prince just 3 dates to convince her that he's worth falling for. By day, author Ebony Liddell works at Penguin Random House, and she's the marketing director for the Obama's publishing branch. So she has a vast network of connections, both professionally and personally, with powerhouse YA authors, and the blurbs that we've received for this are just amazing. Jasmine Guillory says, this book is a celebration of Black love, Black teenagers, Black friendship, and the Black family, and I adored it from beginning to end. And award-winning author Elizabeth Acevedo says, Liddell's Love Radio gives a voice to some of the sweetest hopes and the hardest truths. And we're going to have an amazing playlist available for you guys so you can rock out to great tunes while falling in love with this incredible read. And that's what I have.
Awesome. Thank you, Naomi. Next up, we have Chris Conti from IPG.
Hey there, let me share my screen. All right, so first up, I'm doing equal amounts series books as I am new releases, because I've been finding that as we're developing new relationships with accounts, as we are the first IPG in-house sales reps. We were commissioned prior to the past year, that people are like, why should I meet with IPG again? So I'm going to try to feature some of the series books that are doing really well at Indies. We're also running sales histories for all of these series. In terms of what's selling at the indie level, we're not including Amazon, we're not including Ingram in those sales. So if you want to know which ones you should choose, I'm happy to send you those. First up is the Tales of the Weird series. If you go to the related right here, you can see most of the other ones in this series. Really beautiful covers, and it's Gothic supernatural horror fiction from the 19th century up to today, things that belong in the British Library's vaults are being reprinted and repackaged. Really beautiful covers. We have accounts that sell these year round, and I've had a bunch of accounts say, oh, remind me of in the fall, because I want to build a display. We're doing a point of sale for these, and many of the series books, we have a 20-minute buy-in where you get 50% rate. Next up is Remnants from Book Hug. They're a Canadian contemporary fiction publisher. Think sort of like the Canadian version of Milkweed or Tin House. We really like what they're doing. They are joining our next Zoom call, doing monthly Zoom calls, and we feature either an upcoming author or a publisher to kind of talk about their publishing program. And so I encourage you to join our next Zoom call. We really like this publisher, probably the closest thing that we have to really fine contemporary literature. Next up is another one from the British Library. If you've been to any of my rep picks over the past 6 months, you've probably heard me talk about this series. It's like the New York Review of Books in that they're reprinting classics or lost classics, all by women authors from early to mid-century. They all have this sort of wallpapery background with the silhouette on the front. It's not going to load for me, sorry. And the price points are all like $16.95. They've been releasing about 2 per season for a while now, and these are doing really well. Common Good, Next Chapter in St. Paul has been doing especially well with it. Right, so Antti Tuominen is a Finnish author who published with Arenda about 4, it's got 4 backlist titles. This one has been made into, it's a crime thriller. It's been made into a movie starring Steve Carell. It's coming right now. And he came to our last Zoom call, really hilarious, coming to the Toronto Book Festival. And he's supposed to be on some late night talk shows because he's a real character. So yeah, if anybody wants a copy of this, just let me know. I'm happy to get you one. All right, next up is Uology from the American Academy of Pediatrics. And this was just mentioned on NPR yesterday, and I got a flurry of orders yesterday. This has been doing really well, even with accounts that don't really have a parenting section, because it is the first kind of non-binary puberty guide. And when I say non-binary, I mean, the rainbow of genders that today, but also I think traditional books, and there's no information shared. This one is really the first of its kind. Right. Next up is It's Murder, Don't You Know? I had to include this one because I'm talking to you midners. It's a quirky murder mystery with recipes. It's a series. They're all cozy. And this one actually featured a mystery. And this is from the North Star Press of St. Cloud. So one divine for use that sell murder mysteries. All right. Made It Easy is from Nancy Birtwistle, was the winner of the Great British Bake Off, or the first of the Great British Bake Off. And this is the first book in she published with us that we distributed. And it was our one seller for a good month last April, and this is the second from her coming out. People just got obsessed with green cleaning over the pandemic, trying to get rid of this germ, but it was on fire. That first one. All right, The Best of Sci-Fi Volume 1. This is a 624-page contemporary science fiction. There's no, there's no prints, there's no 60s stories in this. It's all fairy, and it's also global. There are a lot of women and Black writers. 620 pages, $16.95. This, along with horror, only been hearing from how well their sections are doing. So it's a great one. And Volume 2 is coming out this fall. All right, next up is the Culture Smart series, which is in its third editions. I've had a lot of accounts looking for, and you can go to the Relateds to see the others in this series.
Chris, you have 1 minute left.
Okay. These have really been replacing traditional travel guides. There's no restaurant recommendations. There's no hotel recommendations. It's really looks at the culture in its entirety. I think these are also doing well because if you're taking a language and you need to write a report, whether it be high school or university, kind of what other source is there besides Wikipedia? So I would really look at these. Again, 50% free freight on a buy-in of 12 copies. And then I would be remiss to not include Yagi the Bookshop Goat, which is from Tokyo Pop, our manga publisher. If you haven't brought in manga, especially Tokyo Pop and their illustrated YA, I would really recommend this one, especially given that it takes place in a fictionalized bookshop. Under Her Skin will be the only horror poetry anthology written by women in your beautiful cover. I would say it's actually a bit more gothic than it is horror. Beautiful interior illustrations as well, and the reaction to this title has been really great. I'm going to stop there so that I don't have to stop mid-sentence, but to check out the rest of the short list here. And yeah, email me if I can help. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you, Chris. Is Kathy Shorenstein in the chat? I saw you were in there earlier, but you might not be. Nope. Okay, let's go on to Betty Redmond from IPS PGW, Two Rivers, and Ingram Academic.
Hi, folks. It's great to see you today. Some familiar faces and some new faces. I am going to be covering a smattering of children's and adults titles. First off, we've got from a local Chicago publisher, Trope, who specializes in photography books. They have started a new line of kids series called the People series, and it's an inclusive, equitable portrayal of biographical people. Each book will feature artists or scientists that come from a diverse representation of humanity. So starting off with LGBTQ icons, well, all of them will be illustrated by David Lee Sisko, who you may be familiar with his artwork. He's done some things for like the Obama's administration Christmas card, and he's also done work at the Chicago Children's Museum. So there are 50 biographical characters in each volume. This is LGBTQ icons in the art world. It features some familiar people as well as some lesser known characters from history, including Dorothy Arzner, who was the only known woman who directed during the Hollywood Golden Age. So, and then the next one in the series will feature science, and then following that, a new character, a new segment of history in seasons to come. And then Am I Even a Bee? This is one of my favorite kids' books on the list this season, if not for a few seasons. This is the story of Osmia, who is a bee that, as you can see from the artwork, she doesn't look like other bees. She doesn't have yellow and black stripes, so she's trying to paint them on and conform and look like the others. She grows up in a meadow where all the other children and bees are, and they're in the typical yellow and black and stripes. And she doesn't understand if she even is an actual bee until she runs into another bee who is black and fuzzy, no yellow at all. They're red bees, they're cuckoo bees who lay their eggs in other bees' nests. So it's a book about self-acceptance and diversity, and it's so well told, with a lot of heart, very endearing, while at the same time it's giving a little bit of information about pollinators and the jobs that they do and the habitats that they need to live in. And then The Weird Sisters, this is a new series from Owl Kids Books. It is a novel for emerging readers. It is illustrated with line illustrations. It's hilariously funny. The Weird Sisters fly into town on their broomsticks, and one of them doesn't speak at all and reminds me of the character Sunny from Lemony Snicket's series of unfortunate events. She only speaks in onomatopoeia, which is hilarious for young readers when you're reading aloud, but it's also something that emerging readers can begin to read independently as well. So the sisters move into town. They pick the house that needs the most work, seems the most dilapidated, but that's where they are the most comfortable. And they open up their pet shop, and there isn't a cuddly creature in sight in the pet shop, more like snakes and toads and things like that. So it is called the Weird Sisters Detective Agency. So there is a bit of a mystery, but wonderful, like I said, for emerging readers, for read aloud or reading independently. And then we have a few things that I've realized as I go through here that I think I was really inspired by spring bird migration and seeing different things. And so a lot of my books we'll see are about birds this session. So Backyard Birding for Kids is an introduction to ornithology. This is also for sort of a early first through third grade and perhaps even into fourth grade, learning how to identify birds in the wild, keep a journal of observations, and also it includes a lot of activities for kids to get out in the world on their own independently, as well as things that can be done together with families. This is from Adventure Keen, and you probably are all familiar with their titles. They do the Michigan bird ID books and Indiana, Illinois, etc. So very high quality art, very high quality color photographs throughout. And then Drawn to Birds is also from Adventure Keen. And this is from a woman who is a naturalist, an educator, author, and illustrator. And she has, she again talks about how to create your own journal, how to become your own kind of scientist, understanding what birds need in their habitat to survive. She covers a lot of habitats, whether it's prairie, wetlands, or shorebirds. Oh, Edelweiss is being a little tricky with loading here. So I'll just pass on, but you can see some of the beautiful illustrations mapping how to attract birds into your own garden. And then Wings Over Water, The Vital Magic of North America's Prairie Wetlands. This is a lovely photographic book that is a companion to an IMAX movie that is beginning here in May and hoping to go throughout the summer season at theaters. And it is narrated by actor Michael Keaton. And this book has been put together by one of the world's largest habitat and preservation organizations that's based in Canada. Beautifully done. And then Declutter Your Photo Life. This is for the family historian, archivist, whatever he or she might call themselves, or
Betty, you have 1 minute.
family. Sorry, okay. So how to organize, how to gather your photos to tell a story. And then Life Sentences from Billy O'Callaghan, published by Godine. This is beautiful writing from O'Callaghan. He begins the story from the point of view of a soldier who's in prison overnight in order to be prevented by his friends from going after the man who is responsible for his sister's death. It is told in 3 different distinct points of view: that man, his mother, and then his daughter. It is some of the best writing that I have experienced in quite some time. It is the kind of writing that's so beautiful that you become one immediately in the presence of the place and the time that that character is in, which in this case is Ireland, just towards the end of the famine. And then Language of Birds, which is from Anita Barrows, who has gotten grants from the NEA, as also Ragdale Foundation. And this is a very endearing story of 2 sisters, Elder Gracie, who's a teacher and author, and the younger Janny, who is autistic and a lover of birds and caretaker at an environmental shelter. And then Richard Wagame's Selected Writing. This is a really lovely volume. He's been published by Milkweed, but this is coming from Douglas and McIntyre from Canada. He's a poet and novelist who passed away in 2017. And this is a collection of his nonfiction writing. If you're a fan of braiding sweetgrass, this is one that you're sure to enjoy. Is that it for my time?
Yep, you're right at time.
All right,
Awesome. Thank you, Betty.
thanks.
Last but not least, we welcome Kathy Schornstein from HarperCollins. Kathy, I'll let you take it away.
There we go. Got the video. Oh, you can see me. Okay, I'm so sorry. Anyway, here I am. Thank you for sticking with everything, and I'll take a deep breath and dive in here. I'm just going to hold up the books. I mean, you can follow along on the Edelweiss collection if you want, but and I think I'm going in the right order. The first book that I'm going to talk about is So Happy for You from Celia Lasky. This is such a funny, over the top, wacky kind of takedown of the whole wedding industrial complex, our obsession with weddings. It's the story of two women who are, they've been best friends since childhood. They've drifted apart, and one asks the other to be in the wedding, and it just goes crazy from there. This is a book that, you know, I think if you're a fan of Alyssa Nutting, that's a great comp. Kevin Wilson, and my line for this is Bridesmaids meets Black Mirror. It is a wacky story, but so much fun. And I've had some really great bookseller reads on this one. And then next up is The Lovers from Paulo Cagnetti. He did a book a number of years ago called The Eight Mountains that Harper didn't publish it, but it was a really lovely book. And I'm so happy Harper Via is publishing him again. It's the story of a man from a city in Italy who has spent his summers and his childhood in a little town in the Italian Alps. And he's gone back there as a 40-year-old man to sort of figure out his life. And it's one of those books that's very simple on the surface, but there's just this, it's very sort of simple writing as well, but it's very, it's really complex. It's about a relationship, the lovers, but it's also about the environment and nature and the friendship of these people in the village. And also one of the things he does really well is writes about male friendship, which I love. You don't see that in a lot of books. So this is just a really lovely, very quick read. And then next I have Last Summer on State Street from Toya Wolf. This is an amazing debut. The book is set in the late 90s on the south side of Chicago in the Robert Taylor homes. And it follows a young girl named Fifi during this one particular summer. And what's happening that summer is the Robert Taylor homes are being taken down. And it's a very pivotal summer in her life. She's got 3 friends, and the story sort of centers around who she can trust, who she can't trust. You know, it's not a light story. It really is has a lot of depth to it for only 220 pages. Ultimately, it's about a community coming apart, but also her resilience. It's such a good book. And we've been publishing so many local authors, and I'm thrilled that Toya is from Chicago and grew up in the Robert Taylor homes herself. Then I think I might be going out of order. The Work Wife, which is a favorite of mine. This is a smart feminist book that takes place in one day on the estate of this really wealthy Hollywood producer. It's told through the point of view of 3 women in his life. His current wife is sort of just a hostess for him. His ex-wife, who's really out of the scene until this day, who was very instrumental in helping him make his billions of dollars. And then the work wife, who is his personal assistant. And she's striving to be the chief of staff. But in this one day, they all sort of see each other in a different way and kind of come to terms with what they're giving up and their sort of complicity in this life that they're living. It's really good, and it's got this great feminist perspective that surprised me when I read it. I was expecting something very different. We've got great quotes from Emma Straub and Julia Phillips, among other people for that one. And then there's one I don't have the cover of. This is, and I apologize, but it's called More Than You'll Ever Know by Katie Gutierrez. And this book is great because it's a page-turning story, but it also has this true crime angle that runs through it. Told in dual timelines, it's the story of a young, struggling true crime podcaster who comes upon this story that it's like a footnote. Nobody's really written about it. And it's the story of a woman who lived a double life. She had a family in Texas and a family in Mexico City. And ultimately, one of the husbands is arrested for killing the other. So this young podcaster is just obsessed with this and wants to know what happened. So she finds the woman, and together they kind of start to write the story. And then the other time frame is actually her name is Lore, is Lore's story of how she came to have these two lives. It's really great. And I think it, even though, you know, it's not completely true crime, I think it will definitely appeal to, you know, to readers of true crime. And then When We Were Bright and Beautiful, is I think I hit them all, is the last book. And this is another one that just took me by surprise when I read it. It's set in New York, and it's the story of a wealthy family whose son is accused of rape. And the story is told from the perspective of his sister. She's in her early 20s. She comes back to the family home. They sort of hunker down to, you know, work out their defense. And she's trying to figure out why anyone would accuse her beloved brother of this crime. There are, and I don't say this lightly, there's a twist in this that is just unbelievable, but it's a book about wealth, the privilege of wealth, of how you think you're not responsible for things, and about how much loyalty people have to their family despite the consequences. So just a really strong read on When We Were Bright and Beautiful. And I think that's it. I usually go over, so I don't know what the timing is, Larry, but
You have a little time left if you want to go. Otherwise, you're good. You have about a minute.
Gosh, I think that's really it. There's a lot of other books on the list. If there's, you know, anything else from Harper you'd like to read, you know, to reach out to me. And you know, if I can't get you a galley or a reading copy, I'll track one down for you. So thank you. Thanks for you know, hanging out this morning and this afternoon if you've done it. And yeah, I guess that's it. Thank you. Thanks, Larry.
Awesome. Thank you, Kathy. So that wraps it up for Rep Picks today. Please join me in thanking our participating reps, Brooke Fabian from Sourcebooks, Naomi Kennedy from Simon & Schuster, Chris Conti from IPG, Kathy Shorenstein from HarperCollins, and Betty Redmond from IPS, PGW, Two Rivers, and Ingram Academic. I said it in the chat, but Toya Wolf is one of our featured authors at Spring Forum, so you can meet her this Thursday if you are attending in person. I'm going to throw that link into the chat. Also, all of the participating reps, Edelweiss links are on the Gleba Spring Forum page. And then later this week, check back. I'll have the video from today's sessions posted there, so it'll be there and shareable for your booksellers. But that being said, thank you all, and I'm looking forward to seeing a lot of you this Thursday. So thank you.
Great. Thank you. Bye.